muy bien, gusto en saludarte. Muy bien. Un abrazo fuerte. ¿Que se van el martes próximo? Yo que no va a haber Facebook. Good evening. I'm attorney Alma Rosa Nieto, immigration attorney, reminding you that we're here every Tuesday in English and every Thursday, 7 p.m. West Coast time, 10 p.m. East Coast time in Spanish. So those that are saying Español, Español, we have the same segment on Thursdays in Spanish. Very well. There's a topic that's everyone's talking about, tweeting about, sharing on Facebook, LinkedIn, and all the social media and Twitter, etc., about things getting tougher to get visas at the American embassies abroad and the requirements and how invasive the questionnaires are going to be and how much information they want to know from people applying for visas. And these aren't just visas. If you're thinking somebody from Brazil wants to come as a tourist and they want a tourist visa. No, these are also immigrant visas. Visas are divided into non-immigrant, means they never turn into a green card, and there's certain visas that have a temporary expiration or a temporary lifespan, and they're either for tourism, for students, for work, for business, but they're not permanent and they don't become permanent. Those are non-immigrant visas. And then there are immigrant visas, and those are the ones that turn into a green card. Well, green card holders may be vetted a lot more at embassies around the world. Now, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, is stating and alleging that the reasons behind this is tightened security to protect the United States against terrorism, better national security standards, etc. However, everything that is done for one reason can have repercussions for another, and my role here is not to talk politics, but to talk to people that have immigration needs about any changes that are being are happening currently or in the near future, and explain what repercussions they have for the immigrant community, whether they be good or whether they be bad. Now, my concern is if you want to apply for a tourist visa or any kind of non-immigrant visa, you have to apply at the American Embassy in your home country, and you're going to have to fill out a questionnaire that in the past was a one-pager that maybe now will be multiple pages. They want to know 15 years back your work history, your residences, meaning where you've lived, what cities, what countries around the world. They want to know about your social media, maybe even handles and feeds for the last 5 years, to see what kind of sites you visit, see what kind of groups you're a member of, see what kind of sites you are subscriber to. So the Immigration Service, or the Department of Homeland Security, I should say, and the Department of State are going to ask a lot more information if you want to come into this country, so that they can vet you and know if you might be a suspect for terrorism or a suspect to hurt the country or cause national harm in the United States. So you're going to also have to have a super amazing memory of all this information, and you have to be prepared if you do get a visa. Remember, the visa is your ticket into the United States. You're still going to have to see a security guard at the point of entry, whether that be an airport or whether that be a land port or a seaport, and that is Customs and Border Protection. That's the officer that's going to see your visa, call you into investigation that's brief usually if it's in primary, and can be hours if it's in secondary, to see if you meet all the requirements of the visa. So you could still be sent back to your home country even though you have a tourist visa or a student visa or a work visa. If the officer, after interviewing you, concludes that maybe you're violating the terms of the visa, or you have an intent to stay or to violate the conditions of the visa, they could deny you entry. So now they're going to also ask for your electronics. They can ask you for your cell phone. Now, this has been news that I've shared a few weeks ago. However, now even if you say, well, this is my cell phone for work and it has confidential information, I remind you that maybe 2-3 months ago, maybe a little longer, there was a scientist from Jet Propulsion Lab, JPL, who had a computer, laptop that was confiscated, as well as a cell phone. United States citizen, but his trip required him to go to some of the countries that the United States considers dangerous for national security purposes. They took his phone with top secret information from NASA in it and looked through it and held it, I believe, for several days until he could get it back. He refused, and they said, we need to confiscate it, you're not admitted into the United States. So these things have been happening, and now, of course, they'll happen even with more frequency under these new regulations that should start any day now, and now they can ask you for your cell phone, they can keep it if they want, and they can have you give them your codes and your passwords and your handles so that they can check into your feeds and see what kind of sites you visit, who you're texting or who you're calling, and who you have social contact with or professional business arrangements with. So this is a little frightening in terms of our freedoms in this country, in terms of how much privacy we can expect to have and how much privacy we can expect to lose if you're coming in through any port of entry and you're inspected by an immigration officer. And of course, the same will happen at the American embassies when you're requesting the visa. So if you are from a country where you need to get a visa to enter the United States, be prepared for long questionnaires, perhaps long questioning, and it'll take longer for you to be given a visa if you're going to get it. Instead of it being the same day or the next day, it could take weeks until they check all the information in your application and make sure that you are someone that should be admitted into the United States for temporary purposes. So again, this is part of the new administration's attempt to create national security, and my, again, purpose is to show the repercussions to those that may be coming into the United States. So if you have family abroad and they're contemplating coming for the summer or for Christmas vacation or Hanukkah or any of the holidays, and they're going to apply for a visa, make sure you let them know that there are rigorous vetting requirements at the embassies around the world, and that the process that maybe they have already done in the past is completely different nowadays, and it's much, much stricter. So that's the news, and of course I'll keep sharing every week anything that comes up that may be of interest for you, your family, or your friends. And I remind you, please share that we have this English version, Facebook Live by Telemundo, with immigration information. Let's go to our questions.
Mercedes Bonilla, if someone declares himself guilty of a criminal case and has an ICE hold, what happens with him?
Well, if you have an ICE hold, it's usually because ICE has either seen you in court or you've been detained while you're pending a hearing in a criminal court, and immigration has come to visit you and say, well, what is your immigration status? So that when you get either convicted or released, ICE will be waiting for you and then interview you more at length and maybe put you under deportation or removal proceedings. So very important. Excellent question, because it brings up a number of points. I'm always trying to give advice as though one of you were my client sitting in my office across the desk from me, and you're asking for a legal consultation one-on-one. Although I don't know you, I do want to try to give you as much information so that when you do see a lawyer, you know some strategies, parameters, and you know what questions to ask. So very important, if you have been charged with a crime, arrested and charged, that only means that the police has stopped you for something and they've charged you, and you're waiting to see a criminal judge in the criminal justice system before a court. And there the judge will hear the evidence from both sides and decide if you're guilty or you're innocent. And ICE visits some of these detention centers while you're pending a conviction. So very important to seek counsel from two lawyers. Not, like I've said in the past, two opinions, but two lawyers in different fields of law. One, your criminal lawyer, whether that be a public defender that is giving you free legal advice because you're detained, or it's a private counsel, we call them. Your family's hired a criminal lawyer, and an immigration attorney. Because guess what? If you're a resident, that means you have a green card, or you have DACA, or you have TPS. These are temporary programs that give you the right to be here and have a work permit, but not a green card. Or you're here and you have no status. Well, anything that happens in that criminal case is going to have repercussions either to your green card or your status or your ability to stay in this country. So very important that you seek counsel from both ends so that you know how to plead in a case, you know how to defend yourself. Many times a lawyer, a criminal lawyer, in good faith will say, I think you should take the plea, say you're guilty, or say no contest, because then we got a deal and you won't do any time. But they don't tell you that this may render you deported or you may lose your green card. So both lawyers should talk. the criminal lawyer as well as the immigration lawyer to see what your best defense might be criminally and the repercussions in immigration. So long answer, I'm sorry, but it's a very complex area and it's happening a lot. And people are pleading to things that later they say, why did I do that? Now I'm going to lose my green card or I'm going to be deported.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Mario Retana. If the TPS is canceled for Central Americans, what would happen to the ones who arrived when they were children?
Well, it doesn't matter if you arrived as a child or not for TPS, you'd get the same benefit. But if it's canceled and DACA, which is for people that arrived as children that were under 31 when President Obama made this executive order a few years back, you can still apply for DACA. So some people that are still young and arrived here when they were children may be eligible to switch TPS if it's canceled for Central America. We know it's being canceled for Haiti and it's got a 6-month extension instead of 18 months. But we don't know what happens next with Central America. So if that's canceled, some people may be able to spill over from TPS into DACA and still have the same protection under another program. However, if they cancel both, well, I assume that maybe these applicants under either one of these programs, if canceled, will be put under removal proceedings. Of course, seeking immigration counsel, you'll be able to see what defenses you have. Maybe some people have children already born in this country and can fight a case and put the brakes on a deportation, at least temporarily. So let's keep our fingers crossed. And of course, those of you that are citizens, write your senators and say TPS should be continued for people from Central America. But right now we're all with this giant question mark and fear running across over 300,000 applicants that have applied for TPS.
Cindy Alvarez. My husband was caught by ICE when he was 16 years old, and they took his fingerprints. I am a U.S. citizen. Am I able to help him getting his papers?
I don't know. It's impossible to know without running your husband's fingerprints. That's the first thing I would do. Take his fingerprints, send them off to the FBI, maybe even ask for what's called FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, to get a record of what happened when he was 16. We want to know. We can't assume that when he goes to an interview to immigrate through you, his wife, that everything is going to be fine and that whatever happened when he was 16 will have no repercussions now that he's going to get a green card. Remember, immigration will run a very detailed study of an applicant's past, whether it be criminal or with immigration or upon entry or at airports or at borders. So we want to know what happened before you even start to spend any money on trying to immigrate. We want to make sure that when he goes abroad that he has a very high probability of coming back. Otherwise, don't even start any paperwork. So seek counsel and do this preliminary investigative work before you file for a green card for him.
Evelyn Cortez. A friend of mine has a son in the Army. She went to see her son for graduation at the base, and the sergeants called ICE. Now she's deported. What can she do about it, and is she eligible for PIP?
Okay, so she's abroad, she's left, she's deported, right? Or does she have an order and she's never left? She has a deportation order, but she's never left. Can you figure any of that out, Fernie? She's deported, so she's out, okay. People that are out of the United States and have either an important ceremony, like this would be for this person's son, or an emergency, a medical emergency. Maybe they have a disease and it can't be cured in their home country, but they have treatment here, or someone dies, or someone's in ICU in a hospital. You can request a humanitarian parole to re-enter the United States, even though you've been deported. They're very hard to get because they think you're going to come in legally and then you're going to stay. But if you show that you have an emergent reason, a graduation from the military, his son is giving his life to this country, perhaps at the embassy in the mother's home country, they can give her a permit to come to visit and also see her son graduate. Parole in place is a benefit that is requested when a parent that's undocumented living in the United States has a child that enrolls in the U.S. military. Parole in place allows them to immigrate in the United States, and it gives them a work permit. So I don't see how parole in place might be able to help her here because she's already out of the United States, already deported. So what we want to do is get her here to see this important moment in her son's life, but she should request a permit, whether at the American Embassy or at the ports of entry. Let's say it was in California, they would go to San Isidro, border with Tijuana, Mexico, and show all the evidence of why she wants to come in after being deported. Hard to get, it's been done.
Belizean Dolan. I have a daughter born here. I've been in the country for 14 years now. Can I apply for a work permit, or what is the best option?
I so wish you could. In the early days, 50s, 60s, even up to early 70s, you had a child born in the United States and you could get your permanent green card. That's no longer the case. Having a child born in this country that's still a child and you're here and you're out of status will not give you a green card, will not give you a work permit. That is why we have 11 million undocumented people living in the United States. Otherwise, they would all get a green card. And I get so upset when people say, why haven't you taken any steps to legalize? Many steps that people want to take don't render any results, like in this case. The child has to be over 21, and then there's certain exceptions to that where people cannot immigrate even if they have a child over 21 that's born in the United States. So unfortunately, in this case, I doubt it. But again, always seek counsel, because I don't have the luxury of asking you more questions to know if maybe there's some other way for you to get a green card. But through a child, unfortunately, no.
The next question is from Grating Castellanos. How can someone obtain a detailed information of their files from the Department of Homeland Security so they can find out about the bar given to someone once deported?
Very easily. Freedom of Information Act, as I said a few questions ago, it's a federal law that allows a citizen, a green card holder, someone that's in this country out of status, someone that's already out of the country because they've been deported. They can fill out a form. It's called the Freedom of Information Act. We call it FOIA, the initials for this, FOIA. And you fill out the form, a fingerprint, you give them basic information. Hopefully you have a number. It's like a social security number. It's called an A number, and that is a number that was given to you by immigration where you were detained, when you were questioned, when you were arrested, when you had a case. You send it off to immigration. Unfortunately, it takes forever to get the record. It comes in a CD, like a music CD, but it's actually printable, and it'll have your entire file that immigration has, whether it be at a border or in the United States. If, let's say, you're living in Miami, it's from Miami. If you're living in a port, it will be from the port, and that's where you had immigration problems. It's taking right now between 6 months to a year to get a copy of your record. So be patient, but yes, you can request it.
Jacqueline Vasquez. Can you renew DACA even if it expired 2 years ago? If not, what options do I have?
Okay, no, you can't renew it if it's already expired, but you can reapply. So renewal is one application, which is simpler, and it takes sometimes a little bit less time to get a renewal because they already have all your information. If it's already expired and it's been 2 years, you have to reapply all over again, use the original application, which now has been modified, and give them evidence of everything you had to do the first time you applied, but yes, you can reapply.
Olman Bonilla. I sent the application K1 for my fiance who lives in Honduras. This was May 1st. I haven't received the NOA2. How long do I have to wait?
Okay, normally a K visa, for those of you that are listening or wanting to know what's a K visa. So if an American citizen, whether they're born in the United States or they're naturalized, has a boyfriend, fiance, and they're anywhere in the world, maybe they met while there was a study abroad program, or that person came to visit the United States, met the American citizen here, and then went back home, the American citizen can request a fiancé visa, also known as a K visa. And that person can come in a few months and live here, and they have 90 days to get married and then get a green card here in the United States. Right now, the process for a K visa is taking anywhere between 6 months, and that's like super fast, to 9 to 10 to 11 months. So if you just filed in May, it is very, very soon to be getting any news. It's just been a month. You can also go on the website, uscis.gov, and go into their search engine on status of case, put in if you have a receipt number when you do get it, and then you can track the case and know where it's going.
Jolane Valeriano. I'm a permanent resident for 8 years and my husband has a TPS. Can I help him get a green card? And if so, how long would it take?
Good. As a resident, of course, you can help your husband as a green card holder. I'm going to use myself as an image to be a little visual here. As a green card holder, I can immigrate my husband. I can immigrate my children, no matter what age, as long as they're single. As a United States citizen, I can immigrate my mom, my dad, my siblings, my brother, my sister, my husband, my children, married or single. So to answer the question, as a resident, yes, you can petition for your husband. The wait is about 3 years long, and if he has TPS, he still has to go abroad. There is some new case law in the Ninth Circuit that says that TPSers can immigrate in the United States if they have an immediate relative. That means a spouse that's a United States citizen or children that are citizens over the age of 21. I don't know how long you've been a green card holder. I would recommend you become a citizen, and then maybe, I don't know what state you live in, he might be able to immigrate here without having to leave the United States.
Gerardo Contreras. I'm a citizen currently living in Mexico. My wife was told by a visa officer that the only way they would give her a visa was through immigration, a green card, because she was at that time engaged to a citizen, and this indicated she is intending to live full time in the US. We just want to get her a tourist visa for now. Is it possible?
You can always attempt. They'll have a file for her for if she ever applied before. Basically, the consul wants to see or feel or sense that she's not coming to live here. And unfortunately, all the facts show differently. Married to a United States citizen, she wants to come here. They're going to think she wants to stay permanently. Nothing wrong with that, but they're saying do it through the method, which is to get a green card. Now, if she convinces the U.S. consul at the American Embassy in Mexico that she only wants to come temporarily, even though she's married to a United States citizen, showing the length of the marriage, maybe they've been, let me make up some numbers, married 10 years, she hasn't come here, they have children, they're enrolled in school, they own property, they have a business, they have money in the bank, and she can say, no, I know I have an American citizen husband for however long, but I don't want to live in the United States. Here's all the proof that I have strong roots in Mexico, and I just want to be able to go as a tourist, to go visit my husband's family, to go shopping, to go stay for a few months with the kids there, to see Disneyland and Universal Studios. So if she convinces the consul, she should be able to get a tourist visa. If she's denied, then she'll have to get a green card. Unfortunately, because she lives in Mexico, she'll lose the green card if she lives there more than 1 year. So it's a roundabout system that doesn't make any sense, but if she doesn't get the tourist visa, she can try to get the green card.
Paige Jeffers. I'm a U.S. citizen. My husband entered the country with an I-95 crewman's landing permit. Is this considered legal entry to begin the adjustment of status process?
Okay, there's certain entries that are not considered legal entries, and some of the crew visas are not. So I like to, when somebody asks this question, even my clients that sometimes have telephonic consultations with me because they're all over the world or the nation, I always ask them to fax me a copy of the visa or scan it, send it to me somehow so that I can look at it and see if it's eligible for what's called adjustment of status. If you come in as a tourist, as a student, as a business person with a work visa, those visas allow you to adjust through a marriage to a United States citizen and immigrate in the United States. Certain crew visas do not. So I would have to look at it to let you know if that in fact is one that would allow him to adjust. But you still can immigrate him, but he might have to. Remember, there's two places to immigrate: the American Embassy, where your spouse is from, or within the United States if they're living here. And of course, I'd like to be able to help you immigrate them here, but some visas do not allow you to run from a crew visa into permanent residence.
Lorena Zacarias. Can an undocumented person attend a naturalization ceremony as a guest?
I've seen it. I've seen it many times where maybe the father has been a resident for a long time. He's becoming a citizen to later immigrate his wife and his children, who maybe just joined him into the United States, and they married maybe in their home country. And I've seen it happen. I've attended ceremonies with my clients, and I see the family, and I know that the reason this person's becoming a citizen is to immigrate all his family. So I've witnessed it. However, this was under the prior administration. Remember, everything is being vetted. That means investigated, looked at microscopically under this administration for a number of reasons. National security reasons, because they want to tighten up the standards for immigration and make things much harder. So I would be a little nervous if I was the guest and was out of status under this administration to attend a ceremony where they're going to have, ICE is usually not there, but of course it's Department of Homeland Security, it's the federal district court because that's the judge that swears you in, it's immigration personnel, the one that grants benefits. So I would tread lightly on that. If it was me, I'd rather have a big giant party after in a home, in a restaurant, and not put myself at risk with what I'm seeing these days.
Dennis Chacon. We have an autistic son and we're not legal. Is there any program that we can apply for to get any permits so we can stay here legally?
Okay, having a child with any kind of disability, you're telling me he's autistic, this child, any disability isn't an automatic ticket to get a green card, and many people have a misconception about this, and the advertisers do not help. You listen to radio, watch TV, and there are lawyers that are advertising because they're paying big money to advertise and put an ad up on the newspaper, in a newspaper, on the radio, airwaves, or on TV to say, you have a child that has problems, you might be able to get a green card. They don't tell you the whole story. This is called cancellation of removal. This is something that immigration has to stop you, detain you, put you under deportation proceedings, and you can use the fact that you have a child born in this country with some medical issue to try to stop the deportation and maybe even get a green card. Nationally, the statistics have been that 1 to 3 cases out of 100 get approved and actually get a grant of a green card. So I would never tell a client to go turn themselves in and apply for this and then go into a deportation hearing and see a judge to see if maybe you'll get a green card, because 97 to 99% of the chance is that you will be denied. You can appeal the case and then you have to leave the country. So I'm glad you asked this question, because this is an area that creates a lot of fraud being perpetrated on the immigrant community because they don't know the laws and they just say, well, yeah, I do have a child with this major medical issue and this lawyer is telling me I can do something about it, but they're not telling you the whole truth because they want to retain the case and charge you money. So again, same advice, always seek multiple opinions from lawyers, not notaries, not paralegals, but lawyers, to see if you have a case that's strong enough to take that risk. And when you enter that case, know that the risk is high.
The next question is from Vladimir. He is currently a DACA holder. His wife is a green card holder, and he uses advanced parole. Now he has legal entry. Can she help him get his green card, and how long would it take? He's from El Salvador.
Okay, he didn't have to get advanced parole in this case. A green card holder can immigrate a spouse whether or not he has DACA and whether or not he has a legal entry. However, getting a legal entry, I'm going to make up some of these facts to explain my point. Let's just say this person came in illegally when he was a child. Now he has DACA, which is for dreamers that have been here before turning 16. And then he had an emergency back home, got a permit to travel back home and come back legally. That helps if that young person has a spouse who is a United States citizen, because then she can immigrate him in the United States because he came in legally. But if she's only a green card holder, I would recommend that she become a citizen of the United States so that then later she could immigrate him in 6 months here in the U.S. without having to go to the American Embassy in the dreamer's home country.
Thank you so much. And this is the last question from Nancy Williams. What can you do if your husband is considered a disabled veteran and we've been married for almost 10 years? I'm trying to get my work visa or a green card through him.
Well, Nancy, if he's a disabled veteran, I assume he's a resident or he's a United States citizen, and I'm not sure why he hasn't applied for you. And if he's a veteran, you can also get parole in place, which means that this is under the Obama administration, that you can get, it's a separate application that will allow you to immigrate in the United States without having to go back home to get your green card. The fact that he's disabled shouldn't hurt. However, a United States citizen has to show immigration or the American consulate, the embassy, that you, who are going to immigrate, will not become a public charge. If he's disabled and not making any income or just getting disability income, he may be below the poverty guidelines. And when he gives you an affidavit of support so that immigration is convinced you won't be a public charge, it won't have enough weight because he doesn't make enough money. But I always give clients the example of buying a car. You really want it. You dream of this car, but you can't afford it. Your credit doesn't match. So somebody comes that knows you, that's your family and employer. They co-sign for you. You get the car. Same thing. If your husband doesn't make enough money and that's the issue, public charge for you, then if you have somebody that's a citizen or a resident is willing to co-sign and give the affidavit of support, you could get a green card, and you may be able to do it all here in the United States without having to go back home. So very interesting case. Thanks for your question. I love the questions today. They've been amazing, and I love hearing all these last names from all over the world. That is the intent. That was my intent and Telemundo's intent, to service everybody that has immigration needs. Those that speak English and are from many parts of the world, they have the same needs that we do in the Latino community. And of course, service my community, the Latino community, on Thursdays. A tidbit of information, two things. We've had much success on this Facebook Live in English. I'm very happy. I'm very thankful to you for spreading the word and sharing this. And we're growing and growing and growing. However, the big people in Miami are asking, maybe it should be at the same time as the Spanish version on Thursday. Thursdays in Spanish, it's at 7 p.m. West Coast time, 10 p.m. East Coast time. As you know, here it's 4 and 7. So we want more people to watch. Not that we don't have thousands, but more. We want to be able to reach more because this is a public service. So please let me know. Give me some feedback. You're writing on the computer right now, and tell me if you would prefer that both English and Spanish be at the same time. 7 p.m. West Coast time, 10 p.m. East Coast time. So that Tuesdays and Thursdays would be at exactly the same time, just different languages. And if you think that would better serve you because more people are off work and can be able to come on and join in and ask their questions and get immigration information. So I asked for that little favor to see if it would be, I want to keep consistency. We've only started this a few months ago, and we want to keep the time, but also my intent is to reach as many people as possible and to be of service. So if 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. East Coast time is better, let me know. Just let me know your thoughts. If you think 4 is good, let me know your thoughts as well, and then they'll make a decision on this or not. On that note, next Tuesday, we have a big crew. It's not just me, camera, and makeup here in Los Angeles, a big crew in Miami as well, helping to make this possible for you to see us. And next Tuesday, we will have to be dark. I'm very sorry. So next Tuesday, it's not that Facebook Live in English has ended. I will be here every Tuesday, whether it be at 4 or at 7, depending on your needs. However, next Tuesday, we will be off the air. So this Thursday, we will be on in Spanish. Next week on Thursday in Spanish. And then 2 weeks from today, we'll be back in English. And check me out on Facebook, on my Facebook page, and I'll be putting what time it'll be the following Tuesday. Please like my Facebook, and thank you so much for your time, your great questions, and for sharing this information. See you next time.